Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, for your closing remarks. And again, just to echo your comments around thanking the staff as well as Councillor Newman. So, look, I'm going to put the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
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 Against?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you to you both. Tēnā korua.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 11, all the legs. And it will be moved by Councillor Hills and seconded by Councillor Kuhn. And I'll invite Tania and Sarah to present this agenda item, and then get Councillor Hills and Kuhn to comment before Councillor Hills closes the debate after any pātai. Tēnā korua, Tania, just introduce the team, please.
Yes, kia ora.
Sarah as well.
Just sharing my screen. I'm not sure if Sarah is with us. But tēnā koutou katoa, ko Tania Atlee tōku ingoa. Yes, I'm here to present this proposal that's been put out by the Ministry for the Environment to transform recycling in Aotearoa. So we're especially excited about this because it includes a container return scheme, which is something that Auckland Council has been advocating strongly for over many years. So we're here to recommend that approval of Council's submission is delegated to those councillors and an independent Māori statutory board member, but I will just quickly step through some of the key highlights of the proposal for your information. So, the first part, as mentioned, is a container return scheme, though you might know it by other names like a deposit refund scheme. They're very common overseas. They're used throughout Australia now. So essentially it's the system where you pay a deposit when you buy a drink and you get that deposit back when you take the empty drink container back. So the scheme would include most types of drink containers, which is really positive as per the pictures on this slide, and it would be a 20-cent deposit up front. There'd be regulation to support a mandatory network of retail locations like supermarkets where you could take your bottles back to, and of course our community recycling centres could also participate. The second proposal is for changes to household curbside recycling. So there are two headline proposals as part of this. The first is to have a standard set of materials collected nationwide. So no matter where you lived in New Zealand, you'd put the same things in your recycle bin. So that strengthens the ability to do that nationwide education and reduce contamination. The second proposal for curbside collections is that all urban populations would have a food scraps collection, and that fits very well with what we're doing in Auckland, of course, to roll out our food scrap collections region-wide. And the third proposal of three is about separation of business food waste. So that's a requirement for businesses to separate out their food waste by 2030. And there's various ways that the ministry might look to phase that in, and also how they would look to support businesses to do that. And finally, I've just got a slide here with the timeframes. The closing date for the submission is 8th of May. So we'll be, obviously we've gone out to local boards, we're talking with mana whenua and we're asking for their input by the 21st of April so that we can incorporate it in the submission to go to delegated members for review and approval at the end of the month. And that's the key elements of the proposal. So I'm happy to hand over for any questions.
Ka pai, Tania, I'll go to questions first, and then if there's none, I'll then invite the councillors for any whakaaro, and I'll get Councillor Hills to close. So, Councillor Bill, our Deputy Mayor, has 3 questions. He's got 3 question marks in the chat bar. So your first one of the 3, Councillor Cashmore.
Thanks, Alf. I've actually only got 2. I've got a jittery finger, put it down to old age.
So my question is, we have been strongly advocating as the council for as long as I can remember, since I've been here, for this, which is great news. It's taken forever. What about the fibre recycling plant so New Zealand can be resilient in its own fibre recycling, and also a product stewardship for our appliances, our furniture, our IT equipment and so forth? Is there any signals that this is going to be the next stages?
Kia ora. No signals that I know of around fibre recycling plant at the moment. Certainly, though, in the product stewardship area, the ministry has put out priority products for product stewardship, which includes electronic or batteries, etc., but not so much on the large appliances that I know of at the moment. But they do have that mechanism in place with, I think, might be 5 or 8 different priority products.
Thanks. I guess we can but wait, hope and pray that Wellington moves with a bit more speed and clarity around this area, because it is being ridiculously slow. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Matua Kake.
Kia ora. Thank you for the report. And my question is really around, this will be quite significant in terms of the submission and getting views from Mātai Waka. Can you tell me a little bit more about what's intended there, and if you have done so, what part will Mātai Waka play in the inclusion in the submission?
Kia ora. That's a great part. Because of the tight timeframes, our focus at the moment has been on the mana whenua side and looking at what we already know from Mātai Waka in terms of what we've heard before and what we know from our engagement with Mātai Waka organisations like Parakore. So we're intending to use that, and we can reach out to Parakore as well, for example, to see what their views are to incorporate them. I have been looking at their recent submission on the waste strategy as well to get further insights into those views to incorporate.
Further question, Mr. Chair.
Kapai.
Would it be possible to get a bit of a summary of what it sounds like you're going to do that, and I've acknowledged the time frame, 8th of May and blah blah blah, but offline, can I be sent that summary? Is that possible?
Sure, yes, I can send you. Yeah.
And I acknowledge what you're saying about mana whenua, but I think this is a big one for Mātai Waka actually in terms of getting their views and how they can be involved actually. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Kia ora.
Ka pai, pātai Matua Wilcox. Matua Wilcox.
Ka tai koe te rongo?
Ai.
Oh, ka pai. Yes, I think it's important. I think Tony mentions a really good corridor there, because in our waste submissions and our waste minimisation plan submissions, Mātai Waka and Māori in particular were the largest group of submitters. I think it's really important that we follow up what Tony Kake asked for. And I suppose I just wanted to know, because we've been going along this kaupapa for quite a while now, as the Deputy Mayor said, are we looking to pull up some of that stuff that we did way back early on in council, or are we just going to move forward with the stuff, more current stuff? Thank you.
Kia ora. Sorry, I'm not sure of the earlier stuff that was referenced there.
Well, we did some stuff back in, was it 2000?
Waste minimisation plan.
Yeah, we did a lot of that stuff way back then. So I'm just wondering, are we going to pull some of that stuff up as well?
Right, okay. Just looking back at that earlier feed input into from those mana whenua Mātai Waka input. If I understand you correctly, we can do that.
Sarah, I see that you've come online now, Sarah. So have you got any whakaaro in regards to the pātai whai Matua Wilcox? Your microphone's on. Sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, just yeah, kia ora, just apologies for being so late. The agenda suddenly rushed forward, and I was just sorting something out, of family issue to sort out. Apologies for that. Just catching up on the pātai there in relation to, are we taking into account previous information that we have been heard from mana whenua? Was that the question?
Yeah, mana whenua mata waka in regards to the waste minimisation that we did earlier.
Yeah. And Madam Chair, through you, and because we did get a lot of stuff early on in the piece from Papa Tuanuku Marae.
Yeah, ka pai. Sarah?
Yes, and yes, we have heard before. We have had a lot of engagement before, and yes, we will be taking that into account. We will be. We are very mindful of what we've already heard and making sure that we don't repeat and ask the same questions from what we already know. We've taken on board specific observations around litter and around the opportunities then for the CRS, the container return scheme, to address that. And we've also taken on board specific interests around food waste minimisation as well. And so there are opportunities there to feedback on the proposals from central government around food waste provision for both businesses and from households.
Ka pai tera, Matua?
Aye, ka pai.
Kia ora. Councillor Coon, there's no further pātai. Just wanted to see if you had any whakaaro, and then I'll invite Councillor Hills to close as the mover.
O tēnā koe te hia mana, na mihi nui ki a koutou. Tēnā kurua, Sarah and Tanya. He tino rawe. I'm super excited too, and just really awesome that we're finally going to get a container deposit scheme. It's been a long time coming, so I just wanted to make that comment. Kia ora, Chair. Thank you.
Ka pai. Councillor Hills, closing comments, and then I'll put the recommendation.
Kia ora, Chair, and thank you. And as many have said, this is not our plan, but it's a submission to changes from the Ministry for the Environment, and we will be ensuring that all the consultation material from the past is incorporated to ensure we aren't wasting people's time, because we have very good, as Member Wilcox pointed out, very good submissions on Te Tātaki e Tāwhiri, which a big focus was waste. On the waste minimisation plan, we have our submissions on the plastics that we did a few years ago, and on the container return deposit return scheme, we've also submitted on. So this will, it's a bit unusual because it comes between committees, and this, thank you, Chair, for having this at pace today. So everything will be incorporated from our current views. There will be no surprises in the submission, so people don't have to worry about things that pop up that we haven't already agreed to. But it does, it's a big step forward. We have been pushing for these things, as Councillor Cashmore said, for a very long time. On the fibre, I know that a big step forward was the shovel-ready funding that we got for the improvements to the optical sorters, which has improved the quality of the fibre that we can use, some onshore but mostly offshore. We still don't have, I think the issue is the market for the packaging that would come onshore at this stage is the big concern. The other thing around the changes to curbside recycling, that doesn't mean, and I have had some questions about that, that doesn't mean we will have to change the way we do it. The improvements are more around what we are recycling and a nationwide kind of standard of the types of things, because it is different in every area, whether that's tops on, tops off, types of plastics we can and cannot recycle, the confusion for the market, confusion for producers of the waste. There's a whole, this is, part of a much wider process around waste. So I just want to acknowledge yourself, Chair, previous Chair, Penny Hulse, Linda Cooper for her work on the Waste Advisory Board for Government, Councillor Cashmore, Member Wilcox, and many others who've been on this waka, this journey for a very long time. So these are more steps to improve the situation we have with waste, which is a significant part of our emissions, and also just extremely poor for our whenua and for the environment. We are still having to build landfills, and so these types of big moves will have a long-term effect and improve our waterways and what we are chucking away that sits underneath the dirt for centuries. So kia ora, and the thanks to the waste team who are superstars, and the Ministry for the Environment continuously say that our staff are pretty amazing and do a huge amount of work and have contributed significantly to these changes in the last couple of years the government has been rolling out. So kia ora.
Tēnā koe e hoa. Thank you so much for those words, especially to our staff from both yourself and Councillor Coombe. And the environmental space is in good hands with both you and Councillor Coombe. So I'm going to put that the recommendation. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. So look, it's 6 past 12. If we could come back in at 11 minutes past 12, just to have a break, grab you a cup of coffee, grab you 0% wine, and then we'll see you back at 11 minutes past 12. Kia ora.